Right then, boys and girls, welcome back to the patch 9.3 test server. Second version of the test is up. What's changed? Not an awful lot. A couple of bug fixes. Some features weren't working, so they've been removed. Particularly things to do with the new fair play auto penalty system. Artillery that were defending themselves at point blank range and killing themselves while shooting the tank that was attacking them with the splash damage of their high explosive shell would be encountered as suiciders, and Wargaming haven't come up with a way to fix that, so that part of the system has been disabled. Also, the rewards for tanking, the experience bonus that people were getting for absorbing damage with their big, strong, heavy tanks has resulted in some ridiculously skewed experience awards at the end of some of the games. I saw somebody with 5,000 base experience, so until they can fix that, that's also been turned off for this version of patch 9.3 on the test server. And also, the T54 lightweight is at its top speed buffed. It now does 69 kilometers per hour. It's a 10 kilometer per hour speed buff. So that's fairly significant for the T54 lightweight. But today, we're going to be taking a look at possibly my favourite tank in patch 9.3, the M41 Walker Bulldog. Now, I know I said I thought the RU-251 was the best of the Tier 8 light tanks, and I do think it's the best of the Tier 8 light tanks, but this is not a Tier 8 light tank. This is a Tier 7 light tank, and it's incredible. What's so good about it, Jingles? Why do you like it so much? Well, aside from the fact that it compares very, very favourably against the other Tier 7 light tanks, of which there are only 3 others in the game, the T71, also in the American tree, the Aufklärungspanzer Panther in the German tech tree, and of course the AMX 1375 in the French tech tree. And without pulling up the individual stats and just comparing numbers for the next 10 minutes, the M41 Walker Bulldog is the fastest of all of the Tier 7 light tanks by quite a significant margin, 72.4 kilometers per hour. It has the second highest health, only beat by the German Aufklärungspanzer Panther with 910 hit points. It's got the second best power to weight ratio of all 4 of the Tier 7 light tanks, only beat by the T71, and not beat by much. T71 has 23.58 horsepower per ton, the Walker Bulldog 22.19. The armour is pretty terrible. Comparable to the armour on the T71. This thing only has 25mm of armour at the most in any given direction. The Aufklärungspanzer Panther is obviously going to be the most well armoured of the Tier 7 light tanks, with its anything up to 85mm of armour, but German. That's what they do. It's very, very manoeuvrable. 56-degree hull traverse. Better than the AMX 1375, better than the Aufklärungspanzer Panther, and pretty much exactly the same as the T71, but the turret turns faster than on the T71. The turret turns at 50 degrees per second, better than any of the other Tier 7 lights. It has the best view range, 400 meters, and it almost has the best signal range as well, 745 meters, only beat, I think, by the Aufklärungspanzer Panther with the 710. Do I even have the best radio on this thing? I do. Oh, there we go. It must have been beat by the AMX 1375, yes, with 750 meters of signal range. But what about the guns? The 1375 has got an autoloader, the T71 has an autoloader, and the T71's autoloader fires armour-piercing composite rigid ammunition as standard. Well, so does the Walker Bulldog. The gun selection on this tank includes this thing, 76mm autoloader. And it's a very, very unusual 76mm autoloader. Like the gun on the T71, it also fires armour-piercing composite rigid ammo as standard, but this one has 10 rounds in the magazine. Comparing these two guns, Walker Bulldog here on the left, T71's gun on the right, they're very, very, very similar, with only minor differences. Well, minor differences and one very large difference. 10 shells versus 6 shells in the magazine. They both fire a shot every 2 seconds. The T71 takes 20 seconds to reload its magazine. The Walker Bulldog takes 32. They both fire ammunition that does 175 penetration, 150 damage, The accuracy, 0.4, 0.39, near as damn it identical, and the Walker Bulldog's gun aims faster, 2.1 seconds. This is a hell of a good tank. Now, you don't have to use the autoloader, and I haven't been using the autoloader. I've been using the regular 76mm gun. And the reason I've been using that is, well, it's all down to personal tastes. If you're using an autoloader or a regular tank gun, you're going to have to modify your playstyle to accommodate the kind of gun that you're using. You have to do reload management if you're driving a tank with an autoloader gun, but if you've been used to driving autoloaders, this isn't going to come as a great surprise. You'll know exactly the sort of thing I'm talking about. But this gun isn't bad at all. You get 17.14 rounds per minute. That's almost a shot every 3 seconds. Now don't forget, the autoloader might have a 10-round magazine, and it might fire one shot every 2 seconds, but this thing, the non-autoloader version of the same gun, fires a shot almost every 3 seconds and doesn't have to sit around useless for 32 seconds every time it's fired 10 shots. It's also more accurate and has an even better aiming time. In all other respects, the gun's the same. Well, it is the same gun, this is just a non-autoloading version of it. My recommendation would be to not use the autoloader and just go with a regular 76mm gun. Of course, it's highly situational. There's going to be situations where you'll think, well, if I had an autoloader, I wouldn't have died there. Particularly if you come across another Walker Bulldog that does have an autoloader. He's probably going to kill you. But the reverse is also true. You're going to get yourself into situations where you're thinking, if I just didn't have to reload for 32 seconds, I could have killed that guy. But the gun that you equip on the tank is going to dictate how you play the tank. People who already drive tanks with autoloaders will, this isn't going to come as a great surprise to you. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I think, just looking at the numbers, the basic stats of the various different Tier 7 light tanks, that there's a very, very strong case to be made that on paper, the M41 Walker Bulldog is the best of the bunch. Now, I realise a lot of the T71 drivers out there are going to be thinking, what the hell? What's the point in driving the T71? Well, don't forget, size matters, and the T71 is a significantly smaller tank than the Walker Bulldog, and that really does make a difference when you're driving a tank that has absolutely no armour and relies on its speed, manoeuvrability and size to survive. The T71 is still a harder target to hit than the Walker Bulldog because it's a smaller target, and that really does make a difference. And the stats difference between the Bulldog and the T71, they're only really significantly different in top speed, 72.4 kilometers per hour versus 64.4, and there's not that much of a difference, and the T71 still does have a slightly better power to weight ratio. So as far as functional mobility is concerned, they both have the same traverse. Yeah, alright, the Walker Bulldog turns its turret significantly faster, so it's a better close range dogfighter than the T71, but the T71 is still going to be the more survivable of the two because the armour that it does have is much better sloped and it's a smaller and harder to hit target. So don't cry into your cornflakes too much, T71 drivers. You're still good for something. And yet at the same time, I never really got too excited when the T71 was introduced into World of Tanks, but oh, this thing. Wow. I like the look of it. I like the look of it in a way that I just didn't like the way the T71 looked. And maybe that makes me superficial, but I don't care. I like my tanks to look sexy, and I think the M41 Walker Bulldog looks sexy as all hell. It doesn't hurt that it's a fantastic little tank to drive as well. I have had endless amounts of fun in this machine. And I'm going to show you the sort of thing that I'm talking about. Well, let's get the bad stuff out of the way first. One major weakness of this tank, and it actually seems to be quite common to most of the new light tanks, is that they take module damage incredibly easily. You do have to be very, very careful with the terrain when you're driving this tank around, particularly the suspension. Once the tracks have been blown off once, they will fall off with the slightest provocation from that point on. You really do need to not get carried away with the speed and manoeuvrability of this thing and end up wrecking the tank on the environment. But anyway, first replay, and you're really just getting the highlight reel of this replay because the match itself was a bit of a disaster. Friendly E100 just driven around the corners straight into 3 tier 10 heavies. Well, you're on your own there, pal. this match more than 20 tier 10 tanks in this game, and I'm in a tier 7 light tank. And light tank drivers will be all too aware of the kind of situation that I'm going to end up in this game, because a tier 7 light tank can't really carry a tier 10 game when your team consists of utter donkeys and team killers. Managed to get myself an arty kill though, so good start. Well, that's not strictly true. There are plenty of chaffy drivers out there who would argue the case that it is entirely possible to carry a team of tier 10 donkeys when you're in something that's vastly outgunned, but it's very, very hard. It's nowhere near as doable as it is in a tier 9 or 10 medium, for example. And there we go, our team killer has already gotten himself stuck in. Now, here we go. I'm switching to high explosive ammunition at this point to start shooting it into the back of the gun shield of this Waffenträger E100. The problem is it's 76mm high explosive, and its performance is sadly lacking. Now, I am doing more than 150 damage, which is the average damage of the APCR ammo when I hit this guy, but it only has 38mm of penetration. And if the Waffenträger's gun shield is even slightly angled, that can fail to do any damage. So is it really worth using the high explosive rather than the APCR in this sort of situation, where you know the APCR is always going to penetrate and do around 150 damage? And yeah, he's reloaded and he's pissed off. More importantly, the guys down to the south, 215Bs there, are coming back to deal with this annoying little threat. The Waffenträger, of course, despite moving and turning the turret and not bothering to aim, hits me for full damage. And I'm screwed now. Jockeying around a rock with a Waffenträger E100, I can't afford to take another hit. He's killed the RU-251, who was my only chance of coming out of this alive. There's an FV-215B down south, heading up. I can't drive around this rock forever, and the Waffenträger knows all he has to do is keep me on this side of the rock and wait for his friends to arrive, and well, yeah. So this one didn't go as well as I was hoping it might, and there's the 215B. So it's just a question of choosing who I want to die to. However, when you see the results of this game, you might be surprised. Yeah, I'm not kidding anybody. You're not even going to be slightly surprised at this result. Of course, we lost. I mean, we had a Death Star who did 3,600 damage to his own team. We were never going to win that game. But Tier 7 light tank in a vastly Tier 10 game, and top of the team on experience earned. And not that far off the top of the team on damage done either. This tank really can do it. Oh, and before you all take it upon yourselves to wreak your revenge upon the team killer here, I have actually reported him to his clan leader on the live server. He's only been in the clan 15 days. Don't hold his clan responsible for his actions. I suspect he's probably not going to be in the clan for much longer. So, the first replay started off pretty well and ended up being an utter disaster. This one, almost the exact opposite. We hear an airfield, it's a tier 9 game, although there aren't as many tier 9s in this match as there were tier 10s in the previous match. And my initial plan was to head out onto the airfield and spot for my team. So, you know, to enable my team to get some flanking shots in on any tanks approaching across the airfield. That was the plan anyway. There were some light tank drivers on the other team who had similar ideas, and they got there before me. And any second now, there they are. Right, so much for that idea. I will have been spotted, so I have to get myself into cover. Shit. What am I going to do from here? Oh, yeah. Well, now what am I going to do? Well, there is some concealment here, but I've set this tank up with coated optics. It can't use a gun rammer, so I've got coated optics, a vertical stabilizer, and ventilation. So my view range is around about 440 meters, minus whatever the camo value is of the tanks that I'm looking at. But I'm not really in much of a good spotting position here. You know, I'm not going to see anything that the rest of the team isn't going to proximity detect, or at least that's what I thought. And then, oh hello, it's a 4502. So I don't open fire at first, I'm waiting for somebody else to shoot him, and there are shots going in, but then I think, you know what, if I can pin this guy here and get flank shots at him because he clearly hasn't spotted me. Or if he has spotted me, he just doesn't care. Now, the penetration of this gun is only good enough to get through the side of the turret about half the time, but I do get quite lucky with a lot of these shots. And I'm doing a significant amount of damage to this guy. We've got guys going around, and there's a lurver. Over 400 meters range, he probably can't see me. Or if he can, he's certainly not firing back. The 4502, I'm praying he's going to back up so I can get the killing blow on him, but no. And then the lurver pops out again, so, well, alright. Now he's angled well, and the lurver side armour did get buffed a couple of patches back, but I'm still able to penetrate him. Is he going to pop out again? And suddenly a wild centurion appears. And the lurver's pointing his gun straight at me, so I back the hell up and managed to dodge that shot. Right, they clearly know I'm here now. But the lurver and the centurion are the least of my problems, because here comes a T-49, and he has the 152mm howitzer. It's going to take me 3 shots to kill him, and he can easily kill me in 1 shot. Oh no, it's all going horribly, horribly. He hit my gun. My gun took the shot. Point blank range, direct hit from a 152mm howitzer, and all it did was knock my gun out, and some minor hull damage. Unbelievable. I'd never get away with that again. If he'd been using the premium high explosive ammunition, he would have probably killed me, because that's got more than 5 meter splash radius. Hit the end of the gun, still knock the tank out. And then the lurver fires and hits my tracks. Jingles, you lucky son of a bitch. Although, you know, to be completely fair, it wasn't surprising that I didn't take any damage from the lurver shot. I saw him aiming at me, I pulled back, and the only thing that he had to hit was my outside drive wheel. It went right through that and into empty space on the other side. But they're now dead, and I can finally get myself out of this corner and start looking for stuff to outmaneuver. And we've pulled the score back quite nicely. We were actually losing pretty badly at one stage. They're pulling it back though. They've just nailed 2 of our tanks. Everybody's getting stuck in. Come up over the top, T-54, anxious for the kill. T-30, well, I'll wait for the T-30. He takes the shot, pop out, finish off the FCM. Tortoise on the flank. Oh, 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 back up, back up, back up, back up. Light tank in front, he's dead. Well, it would be very, very, very silly to rush out in front of the Tortoise's gun, so instead, I'll go around. Do you remember I mentioned how easy it was for the tracks to fall off this thing once they've already been damaged? Yeah. I will learn the easy way or the hard way, but I will learn. Unfortunately, this costs me a kill on the Tortoise. I mean, the Tortoise is doomed. He's managed to back up. I would have had a shot into the back of the Tortoise and possibly been able to kill him, but now he's able to turn around. But, well, even if I don't kill him, I do get him killed. Because he turned around and gave his side to somebody with a significantly bigger gun than me. Now, our artillery's in trouble. There's an enemy RU-251. And they've got a spy panzer over there. Now, this guy was good. And he's in a tier 8 light tank. And I pop up, and he knows I'm here. And he's firing heat, of course. You can hear the sizzle it makes when it hits. Doesn't matter. I mean, he could penetrate me with HE. And that's when artillery blows my tracks off. And now I'm in serious trouble. He hits me again, and there go the modules. He's taken out my ammo rack. Now, I've already used my repair kit. Do I really want to be exchanging shots with a 90mm gun with a damaged ammo rack? No, I don't. There's 2 of them left. There's 3 of us. They know I'm here. And for a second, I actually entertained the insane idea of going around after this guy. But then sanity prevails and I think, screw that. I need backup. I'm never going to beat this guy, not with a damaged ammo rack. So instead, I hightail it back to some supporting fire from the rest of the team, such as they are. There's only 2 of them left. We've rumbled the artillery. There he is. Our RU-251's put one into him. I get the killing blow. There's my 3rd kill. And I'm not hanging around waiting for the enemy spy panzer to catch me. I'm going to meet up with the rest of my team and work from there. He's faster than me, but he's gone around thinking that I was going to try to outflank him over where he killed our artillery. We've got a 4502 here who's capping on very, very low health, so my initial plan is to not cap, but to lie up here in the bushes and try to spot the enemy spy panzer, but he's already been spotted by our RU-251. Don't have a shot, so I slowly, but not nearly slowly enough, and the impact jams my turret, damages my tracks again, and kills my commander. This tank is a great little tank, but it takes module damage so incredibly easily. And I'm not quite fast enough to get up there and assist our RU-251, but he ends up not needing my help after all. And onto the results screen, and yay, first class mastery badge, 3,500 XP, not bad at all. However, what's quite significant is if you have a look at the individual scores. On both teams you've got an RU-251 tier 8 light tank and a Walker Bulldog tier 7 light tank in the top 4 on damage done and the top 2 on experience earned. In the right hands, these little machines are absolutely... Final replay. This is Gunrunner once again. You might remember him from driving the RU-251 in my RU-251 preview video. This is actually a game that he had prior to playing the RU-251. He's in the Walker Bulldog. He's on Muravanka, the new improved Muravanka, and the reason why he's sitting here not moving and looking stupid at the start of the match, he actually can't figure out what map he's on. There it is in chat. It took him a while to figure out what map he was on and which way he should be going. This is the first time he'd seen the new Muravanka. So, Walker Bulldog, it's a tier 8 game, something I've never seen when I've been driving the Walker Bulldog, and the kind of matchmaking that you are never going to see on the live server. Just look at this. Everybody's either in Walker Bulldogs, LTTBs, or E25s, you know, in the majority. And this is a very, very fast-paced game. It really doesn't last very long, but it looks like he was having so much fun. And that's what, for me, the Walker Bulldog is all about. So much fun driving this little tank. He spotted an E25 coming through. Unlike me, Gunrunner is using the autoloader version of this 76mm gun, and his first victim looks like it's going to be an E25. Remember, this gun has a 10-round magazine, takes 32 seconds to reload, and fires a shot every 2 seconds. So he's fired 4 shots, he's killed his first tank, and he still has exactly the same amount of ammunition loaded and ready to go as a fully armed T-71. It looked like he was initially going to head out into the forest, but there are far too many enemy tanks in the forest. He's thinking, screw that, I'm heading over to the other side of the map, back these guys up. We've had somebody on the team turn blue already, I have no idea why. It doesn't look like he's driving around team killing people, and it looks like Gunrunner's prepared to give him the benefit of the doubt, especially since he's in a top tier heavy tank. He's going for a reload, 32 seconds to reload this autoloader. He's using the time he's reloading to catch up with the action down here towards the flag. This is the encounter version of the new Muravanka. The one thing that you're going to notice watching this replay is that he never stops moving. Literally, just from start to finish. This tank is at full speed all the way. His gun's reloaded, 32-second reload on this 76mm autoloader. 10 shots in the clip. Is there going to be anything left alive down here by the time he gets here? Oh, yeah, there is. There's an LTTB that is suddenly wishing he was somewhere else. Fires one shot on the move, hits, penetrates, does damage. LTTB dies in a hail of gunfire. Keeps moving. 9 shots remaining. Heading wide around the flank. Scores are even, 7-7. this was a fast-paced game. I must warn you, this replay does not last very long. It does not last very long at all. Scores are still even. Plenty of enemy light tanks and E-25s of Forest, or at least they were. They've just lost a tank. A couple of enemies spotted. They're mostly in the middle, and he hasn't actually noticed yet. But there he is. He just notices him in time. Another Walker Bulldog. Fires on the move. Boom! Headshot. I suspect he's got a vertical stabilizer on this thing. They've pulled the scores back. They're winning 11-8. Again, he has not stopped moving. Pops up. Bang! Another kill. There are only 2 enemy tanks left. He's never going to get anywhere near that LTTB. He has problems of his own. Instead, there's a big dumb T-34 over here. Heavy tanks are so stupid. And another shot. And another shot. 3 left. And another shot. And it's probably only going to take 1 more. And then suddenly, there's nothing left to shoot at. Damn, that looked like it was fun. I had a real hard time trying to pin down the exact reasons why I like this little tank. I mean, we had a look at the numbers earlier on, comparing it to the other Tier 7 lights, and there is no doubt that it compares very, very favourably to the other Tier 7 light tanks in World of Tanks, but that's not why I like it. I find that sometimes I'll try a tank out and I just don't like it for some reason, and then I spend the rest of my time trying to come up with justifications as to why I don't like it. This is a bad tank because this, it's a bad tank because of that. And it's not a bad tank because of any of those reasons, I just don't like it. So I'm looking for reasons to justify why I don't like it. And I'm in the exact opposite situation with the Walker Bulldog. I just like this tank. I have fun driving it, and because I have fun driving it, I found that I was trying to come up with all kinds of reasons to justify. And it's very easy to come up with reasons to justify why this is such a great tank, because it is a great tank. But more importantly than that, it's fun. I found that when I was driving this machine, regardless of the tier of battle that I got into, it was as if I was driving the old Tier 5 Chaffee. Prior to patch 9.3, with the old matchmaking, brutal matchmaking though the Chaffee got, even a Tier 5 light tank, when it was the top tier American light tank, even in a Tier 10 match, you still had fun driving the Chaffee. The Walker Bulldog is exactly the same, and that's why I like it. Not because of the stats of the tank, and the stats are impressive, but because it's fun to play. And from that point on, all I'm trying to do is try to think of reasons to justify why I think it's fun. And it doesn't matter, that's not important. The fact is that it is fun. In the same way that the TOG 2 is fun, despite the fact that it's a terrible, terrible machine. It's a fun tank. This is not a terrible machine, not by any stretch of the imagination. It is a very, very good little machine, but more importantly, it's an absolute joy to drive, and that's why I like it. As always, folks, take care on that battlefield, and I'll catch you next time.